You ever see one of those headlines? You know, the ones about record-breaking growth or a booming economy? But then you look at your grocery bill and it just doesn't add up. If you've ever felt that disconnect, that little voice in your head saying, this doesn't match my reality, well, you're not going crazy. You're just living in what we're calling the guesstimate economy.
I mean, seriously, does it ever feel like the official story just doesn't track? Like the numbers flashing across the news are describing some other planet that you definitely don't live on. Turns out, there's a really, really good reason for that feeling. And this is at the absolute heart of it. That number you see, that's roughly the percentage of the economic data that runs our world that isn't hard, cold fact. Almost half of the information used to make colossal decisions is based on estimates, on projections, on, well, educated guesses. And that changes everything.
And that brings us to this idea, the guesstimate economy. It's a system where the official story is often a carefully constructed illusion. It's built on ghost numbers, clever accounting, and yeah, some well-intentioned fairy tales that end up hiding what's actually happening on the ground. To show you what I mean, let's dive into our first case file. Okay, first up, the illusion of growth. Oh man, governments absolutely love to brag about a rising GDP. It's their favorite report card. But as we're about to see, that big, shiny number can be one of the biggest fairy tales of them all. Let's take Australia. For almost 30 years, the story was incredible. No recession, a miracle economy. That was the myth. But the reality? They kind of hacked the system. By bringing in massive numbers of people, the overall size of the economy got bigger, sure. But for the average person living there, their quality of life was actually going down. Here's the best way to think about it. Imagine the economy is a giant pizza. The government keeps making the pizza bigger by inviting more and more people to the table. Then they can point and say, look how big our pizza is. But for everyone who was already there, their actual slice just got smaller. So here's the playbook. You add 500,000 people in a single year. Of course your top-line GDP is going to go up, but that's not real prosperity. It's just more people fighting over the same number of houses, the same roads, the same jobs, and the result is that the cost of living for individuals gets absolutely crushed. All right, for our next case, we're gonna see a really similar trick, just in a totally different area. This is the green success story, where a number that looks amazing on the surface is hiding some serious economic pain underneath. Germany is the perfect example here. The myth is that they've pulled off a climate miracle. Their carbon emissions are at a 70-year low. Amazing, right? Well, the reality is a lot darker. A huge reason their emissions are so low is because their factories are shutting down. Their industry is packing up and moving somewhere else, like China. And get this is just insane. In 2022 alone, Germany spent $4.2 billion on something called ghost electricity. They are literally paying wind farms not to produce power because their grid can't actually handle it. It's a staggering amount of money to pay for a system that fundamentally isn't working. I heard it described this way, and it's just perfect. It's the economic version of celebrating that you lost weight because you had to amputate your leg. Yeah, the number on the scale looks better, but you're actually bleeding out. All right, for case file number 3, we're going into a world that gets a lot more abstract, but it affects nearly every single one of us. We're talking about the shadow finance game and the insane risks being taken with your retirement money. You know, the people who play these games have their own little names for them. Names like Bermuda Math or Pass the Trash. They sound kind of playful, but they describe a dead serious process, moving financial risk around the world over and over again until it's basically invisible to the regulators who are supposed to be watching. So what does this look like in practice? Let's follow the money. It starts with your pension fund, but its long-term promises, its liabilities, gets sold to a private equity firm. That firm then shuffles the money to an insurer, maybe somewhere offshore where the rules are different. And that insurer can now invest in much riskier stuff, like struggling airlines or super volatile real estate. The whole point of this global shell game is pretty simple. It moves the risk around until it's basically invisible. And that allows a few people to make massive, risky bets with, yes, grandma's retirement money. They're chasing huge returns for themselves while the danger is hidden somewhere else entirely. Now, our last example, this one might be the most mind-bending of all. It's a paradox that sits at the very core of the entire global financial system. It's about the 38 times trillion-dollar US national debt. So here's the great contradiction.
We're always told this debt is a ticking time bomb, that it's going to destroy everything. That's the story. But the reality is that the global financial system is built in such a way that this exact same debt is also the safest and most necessary asset on the entire planet. So why on earth is it considered safe?
Well, because global banking rules, this thing called Basel III, actually force big banks all over the world to hold ultra-safe stuff like US Treasury bonds as a financial cushion. They are the gold standard, the pristine collateral that the whole system uses as its foundation. And that leads to a pretty terrifying question, doesn't it? We're always talking about how we need to fix the debt to pay it down, but what would actually happen if by some miracle the US government just paid it all off tomorrow? What if we actually defused the bomb? The entire global financial system would just stop. It would seize up completely because that pristine asset that every major bank is legally required to hold to stay in business would suddenly disappear. It's the ultimate trap. The bomb can't go off, but we can't defuse it either. Okay, so we've looked at GDP, at green energy, at pensions, at global debt. Let's pull it all together and ask the most important question. Why does any of this actually matter? Think about what we've seen. We've walked through 4 huge illusions. The illusion of national growth that hides individual pain. The illusion of green success that covers up industrial decline. The illusion of a safe retirement. And, of course, the insane paradox of the US debt. What connects all of these things is that the numbers have been engineered to tell a good story. We've built a global system that rests on a tiny pinpoint of manipulated metrics, all of them designed to do one thing: project stability and keep the party going, long after the music has stopped.
And that really brings us to the final question, the one you have to ask yourself. Now that you've seen a little bit of how the sausage gets made, what do you want to be? Are you going to be a host organism, someone who just gets carried along by these systems? Or do you want to be an informed navigator, someone who can see the world for what it really is? Thanks for joining me.